It's Wednesday, December 28th, 2022. I'm in that pattern. Um, I it warmed up today. Got up to around 40 degrees, so I have the equipment to run. So I went running in on the Joe Michaels on the QB 1381. Um, and I met some as I'm running past. There was somebody that I knew, which I stopped to say hello, and I kept going. I had the Fitbit, which is interesting. I have to say that taking 4 days off in a row, I can feel the weight strain. It in whatever's going on right now. Um, the weight fluctuation is off. Diaphoresis doesn't even work. The 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 texture of the product of the salt mixture, it's a chemical exchange and something is off. I don't necessarily have that really pungent ammonia smell, but there is something with the diaphoresis. It is not functioning in the correct salt to water. I don't know if it's partial dehydration. I don't know if it's aerosol toxins like metals from the gasoline that they're burning. I'm not equipped to test and gather empirical data like a laboratory in order to protect myself. I don't even know who to contact for that level of equipment or who would even be involved in something like that. But I can say that the like albumin or the I've heard the word plasma of the blood and the way that the energy stores and resources, um like 5 pounds in one day is a lot. It's abnormal. It's something in the chemistry of the water or the air or some combination thereof or one of the products. I mean, again, who's controlling the FDA and the regulatory body of the products in New York to make sure that they're safe for ingestion of the people? I have no idea. Um, when I went to Canada on that one business trip, um, somebody asked me that at one of the breakfasts where we had a gathering. Two people that I did not recognize. Again, even them saying the name, I had no recollection of who they were. Um, Again, my only source of information is the television screen. I'm not very reliant on it, but even on the radio, the name was not pronounced or pronunciated in New York. I think at the time was somewhere like around vice president, but even that was not made clear. Um, so that's how this communicate part of the communication's been going between me and the locals, where it's just like been kept in the dark, honestly, in a series of rooms where I'm trying to just survive and figure out my way, and I don't know who is here to help and who's here to harm. I don't. um so anyhow, so I was So I tried the run. According to the Fitbit, I have the Fitbit on. So I went up and I did this like with the wristband. This was the same color as the Princess phone when I was growing up, by the way. Um, in the kitchen at the Glen. Um, so anyhow, so I ran down um, to the Fort Totten, and then I did this at the camera with the band on Today was the first day, and then I ran back. So it did hit a cardio zone, I think, at a time, space between here and there. That was an important piece of empirical data. Um, but until I got to that point, they wouldn't, whatever. Um, I had a kind of, sort of, but not really recollection. Again, one of the CBS or CBS people, like in his normal speak, they had a conversation this morning, which I overlay parlayed as an example or reference. They had this piece on, and then about AI and the machines writing the scripts, and then the people enacting them out. They picked the costumes, the lighting, the whatever, and then their whole like conversation with the machines, or the machine. Conversations I have never been a part of. Just I don't run in those circles. I mean, I've been in a series of rooms, not in circles. Um, so there's so there he mentioned this word premonition, and I'm like, premonition? Do you spell that PREM? Because like, what's the difference between dream REM and PREM? I mean, again, that sounds like something between Mercury, the first planet, and Earthling being third planet in third position. So just throwing it out there. Um, Other interesting note is as I was running towards the first check-in with the surveillance camera after I'd already passed the person that I ran into that I knew or crossed paths with. Um, I My foot fell asleep as I'm running on the right hand side. And I'm like, this is bizarre. Why is my foot falling asleep? Like tingles in my foot, or at least that's what they call a sensation. And I'm like, that's really bizarre. And then all of a sudden, when I stopped running, the feeling in my foot came back. And then I'm thinking to myself, now I've studied, like not in a cadaver gross anatomy way, but in a textbook setting of anatomy and physiology, and the optimal configuration and way that physiology is to function in a perfect world. Um, so I have not studied the disease process as other than what's going on for myself. Some things of that happen to my children, and then some things with my parents. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is it a possibility? I mean, the big wide world of things, of nerves, if they grow like ivy and they cause this uh, something to form, um, do they snap under weight and pressure at some point? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I have nobody to ask that might know the answer to that. Um, but that was interesting. But the feeling came back um, in different sensory routes: sensation of pain, sensation um, of growth, and like where the body sends the cells in order to monitor or send feedback into the mainframe system of the body and body mechanics. I just found it interesting that my foot would fall asleep while I'm actively cardio. And the watch said, first it registered a walk, and then it went into cardio mode. It congratulated me for making it from fat burn into cardio. I guess that means my heart rate got into a certain zone. Again, the data is now um, on the app, which is in the phone. So it's an easier form of tracking. Um, so that happened. I'm just trying to think. And then on the way back, I did not have a problem with blood flow. I mean, I would have said it was blood flow to the right foot, although I didn't stop and check. Um, but it was interesting how it like got that sensation of almost like if you sleep on your hand and then you wake up, you have no like you don't have enough sensation in your hand. It was that kind of feeling, even though I was putting pressure and weight on it, and there had to have been some kind of blood flow. But again, I'm just taking notations for my own edification on cardiovascular and vaso reactions in the outer extremities, most distal part away from the proximal of like the visceral center. Trying to think if anything else is pertinent. I think that about sums it up for the run for today. Oh, and it turns out it's much further than I thought. It said it was like 6.86 miles, and it was like 16,000 something steps. And I was like, oh, that's a lot more than the Jenny Craig pedometer. But I knew that that one was a miscalculation. Um, Again, that goes into that Murphy's law of averages, I suppose. I don't know. I hear the humans like try to logically explain things to themselves. Not that I necessarily ascribe to any of them in any like totality, but in summations of certain um, epistemological type of way, it would make sense. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Oh, that was what it was. The amount, the consistency of the diaphoresis. It concerns me that the body is unable to detoxify at a level that suits its needs. Um, but again, I don't know where to go, what's involved, how to get a doctor that even knows what I'm talking about and has something that some kind of interface or some kind of like interconnected degree with a health institution in order to even monitor something like a heavy metal. I don't know if like to try to clarify and specify like where it's coming from. Um, but I definitely notice these rapid weight changes. Um, some of it, I mean, again, some of it I get is due to lack of movement or lack of access to activity and movement. Um, at one point, it was because of my hypervolemia with not enough volume of blood. I couldn't stay upright period. There were long, long periods of being in bed, which again, over like a chronic, if it's not just acute, over a chronic period. But now it's been so chronic and such a tough hill climb back that, and then I'm noticing being in a different acclimate, different environmental chemistry. Like Suffolk County was one thing. I wasn't living near a bridge with access to multiple states, with multiple vehicles. I wasn't near, um, the amount of traffic under the dome in like a saturated air ratio. Like in Suffolk County, it was, there's less trucks to cars for like diesel fuel versus economy fuel for gasoline. There's a lot of different ratios that were happening out in Suffolk County where I had other health issues going on, but it was not as, um, it was it was a different calibration. It's like a different instrument completely in the orchestra. Um, they're not apples to apples. It would be like apples to oranges. Um, but here, everything is such a high capacity in the Citadel like setting. And I don't have this, um, affection for living in such small quarters and on top of one another. I know some people wouldn't have it any other way. I would visit, but spend not much time if I had a choice. Just my personal preference. Um, I loved my house in Suffolk. I just did, especially the last one. I was so happy there, just in whatever with the children. Not happy with the company, but, um, again, clean up on aisle 7 being whatever it is and needing such a thing. I heard the Humans make that reference in a few movies. I can't remember which one. But again, 7 being a masculine number, it's very pertinent.